It was good. Hello everybody, welcome back. Good to see you again. Today we're gonna make a homemade simple kimchi. The ingredients are all classic kimchi ingredients, except we're gonna add some cabbage. Some people may not be able to get this Napa cabbage, so regular cabbage is gonna work well for us. I'm using one large Napa, one small one. That's all I could find in the store. Believe it or not, that's all they had. We need a daikon, which is a kind of radish, a very large radish. Lots of green scallions, some Asian pears. I'm also going to use cilantro. Now, usually you use ginger, fresh ginger, but this is fresh ginger that I grated and I turned into a paste with some salt and a little bit of oil, which is going to work just fine. The same thing with garlic. And this here is pepper paste, which is this red pepper right here, very spicy. And that has been mashed, crushed in the machine, and salt added as a preservative. We also need some fish sauce. I'm using some anchovies here. These are dried Asian anchovies that I'm going to mash into a powder and I'm going to add to the paste. And of course, our Napa and salt. So to start, this is a two-step process here. First, we have to process the Napa cabbage and the cabbage, and then we'll make the paste and add it. So I have some water here, just clear water. And I'm going to add some salt. And if I don't have enough water, I'm just going to add a little more after. Make sure the salt is well dissolved. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Make sure my salt is well dissolved. So I went ahead and dissolved my 3 tablespoons of kosher salt in here, really good quality kosher salt. Now I may need to add a little bit of water after, depends on my Napa cabbage and my cabbage. And there's 2 ways to do this. You can either leave this whole and put it in there, like just separate it a bit. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it the other way, which I'm going to cut it. And I'm just going to dump it in. Make sure you wash your Napa cabbage as well, please, because sometimes there's sand in it. It's not harmful, but, you know, maybe it's not pleasant. So I'm going to go ahead and chop all of this into this kind of size pieces. And don't make a mess, as I do, always. Always make a mess. I always do. So I'm going to go ahead and chop this and clean up my mess, and I'll see you in a minute. So I'm making another solution or brine because it was too much for this bowl. So we're going to make another pan here. This one is already, the water and salt brine is already here. Now I'm going to chop some of my cabbage. Just going to, like this. And please don't cut yourself, be careful. I'm going to put half in here. And of course I have to mix it up. And you want your water to be salted enough. Because what we're doing is we're drawing the liquid out of the cabbage and replacing it with the salt water a little bit and letting it, basically, it's going to sort of almost ferment or start to cook a little bit in the salt water. Not really cook, still going to be crunchy, but, well, you know what I mean. So here I am cutting my cabbage. As I said, I had to do another tray here because this one wasn't enough. So I'm half of the cabbage here, half the cabbage here, and another brine solution. Let me see again. That's salty enough. And we're going to make sure it's all well covered with water and salt. And halfway through, we're going to leave this for about 24 hours. Let it sit for about 24 hours like this. Make sure it's all well mixed. The water and the salt is covering every piece. And maybe put something to press on it. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I've already melted another about 3 tablespoons of salt in here. And about 8 cups of water, I would say. and mix that well. Make sure it's all covered, and then halfway through, about 24 hours, maybe tomorrow in the morning, press it down and mix it a little more because it's going to shrink, it's going to wilt, and we'll put it aside again, and we're gonna let that sit, and that's the first stage. First stage of our kimchi. We're basically almost pickling our cabbage. For our second stage, as I said earlier, I'm using these very dry baby Asian anchovies for flavor. And you can buy this powder, by the way, but some places don't have that. And if you don't have this, it's okay. You don't have to use it. But I'm gonna pound it into a powder, somewhat of a powder. And I'm gonna use it in my paste. This will be the flavoring paste for our kimchi. So let me pound this, and I'll see you in a bit. See that? Those dried baby anchovies, they're becoming a powder. And I think that's good enough. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and chop it rough, really rough, and put it in here and mix it all together with this. And that's gonna be our filling, or our paste for the kimchi that we're gonna mix with the cabbage. And then we'll let it all sit for a few weeks, and it will ferment, and it will turn into something really delicious. Now kimchi, everybody has their own recipe. There's a simple classic way to do it, but everybody, even in Asia, they all have their own recipe. Basic kimchi: ginger, garlic, dry hot pepper that has been flaked, the radish, Asian pear, the green onions, some kind of fish sauce or some kind of fish powder, and of course our napa. And that's it. Whatever flavor you add is your own. So I'm gonna go ahead and start chopping this and make my mixture, and I will see you after I chopped all of this and how I put it together. So quickly I'm gonna julienne all of this. And definitely my knife needs sharpening. Now all of these people are gonna say, what kind of a professional chef is that using a really dull knife? Well, sometimes I'm lazy. There you go. Just don't cut your hand. And I'm gonna go ahead and chop all this up, and don't worry, I'll be careful. Now I'm doing the daikon radish. Already finished the Asian pear. Again, I'm gonna julienne. And that won't take me long. As fine as you want. I'm trying to be lazy here. It's not a good idea to be lazy when you're making something so delicious in the kitchen, but you know, I'm a messy guy sometimes. Here we go. Daikon, I'm gonna finish that. See, it's so simple. It is so simple. So I've done my daikon, radish, my Asian pears. Now I'm gonna, my cilantro, just for flavoring. This is just for flavoring. And everything rough chopped, like that. Perfect. Put that in there. In a sense, we're making pickled napa cabbage. That's what kimchi is. And now my green scallions, green onions, same thing, not too small, like that. Use as little or as much as you want. As you can see, I'm using about 3 big bunches here for 2 napa cabbages and a regular cabbage. Put all of this in there. Put my fish sauce. My anchovy powder. Asian pears, radish, cilantro, scallions, my anchovy powder, my garlic, my ginger. Again, these are fresh that I ground up, put a little salt, a little bit of oil, and usually they use fresh one. And this is, again, is just the spicy red pepper that's been mashed up and salted as a preservative. And now all we do is mix all of this together. I'm going to just go ahead with my hand and gently start mixing because I don't want it to fall all over the place. And my fish sauce is already also in there. So what I'm looking for a red color. And if I need to add a little bit more pepper, is up to me, but I don't have to. And you're gonna start seeing when I mix this where that red color comes in the kimchi. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix this, and I'll see you in a few minutes. I've been mixing this really well. You can see almost everything is very well incorporated, and that's what we're looking for. If you want a little more pepper, is up to you. I think that's plenty for me. Maybe I'll add a little more, but this is what we're after. Now we'll let this sit for a minute, for a bit, and then we'll mix it with the cabbage. The cabbage that's been soaking in salted water for 24 hours. I'm going to show you, before you start mixing this in, you have to rinse the cabbage a bit and make sure all that water is gone. Rinse it a few times, make sure all the extra salt is gone and the water is gone out, and then we'll mix it, and I'll show you when we get there. So here we are. I actually let the cabbage sit for 48 hours. I don't know if you remember, we had a green bowl, dumped it all into one and let it sit for 48 hours. And look at all the liquid that's come out of it. Instead of 24, because I remember I said 24 hours, I felt 24 hours was enough. And even now, look, it's still very nice and crispy. But most of the liquid has been taken out by the salt. So now I'm just gonna strain it. We also let this sit for the same amount. So this is our filler. You know, remember, very simple, remember how to make it. So I'm just gonna go and strain this, rinse it off a bit, and I'll come back and mix it all together. So I've strained my cabbage. As you can see, there's still a bit of liquid coming out of it, and rinsed it and strained it well. And now we just mix. I want to show you something. This is after 48 hours. That's what it looks like. And it's not stiff anymore. It's not breaking when you bend it. So this is very good. Yeah, that's enough. Now it's still going to continue to discharge liquid after we mix it together. And that's going to continue happening until there's no liquid left inside, and all the liquid is going to come out and become sort of like the sauce. And that's good. That's what we want. So I'm going to empty it in here. So all 2 Napa cabbages and the regular head of cabbage, all of it shrunk to this size. I hope my pan is big enough for me to mix. We're going to mix all of this together very well, and then we're going to put it in the jars here. Yeah, so now the hard part. This is the hardest part, mixing. We have to make sure it's well mixed. Everything has to be very well mixed. So every bit of cabbage gets some of that flavor, and it's going to absorb the flavor, and everything's going to ferment together for weeks and weeks and weeks. You can start eating it after a couple of weeks, but yeah, let me see. I don't want to make a mess here like I usually do, so I'm going to start mixing. I'll mix all of this and I'll get back to you and I'll show you what it looks like. And then we'll start jarring. So I separated it back so I can mix it properly. So this is that's a lot of kimchi. I don't think those jars are going to be enough. We're going to have to get more jars. And you see the liquid is starting to come out more now. Now when I made the filling or the mixture, I made it at the same time as I cut the cabbage, and I let it sit in the salt for 48 hours. That's 2 days. In the meantime, I left the cabbage outside, which is okay, but the mixture I put it in the fridge. Even though I could have left it outside, it's better to put it in the fridge, and yeah, so it stays nice and fresh. So this is our kimchi. It's done. Now we just jar it, and you leave it a few weeks, and then it will start, some of those juices will start to come out, a lot more juices will start to come out, and we'll have this beautiful, delicious liquid that you never want to throw out. That's very precious stuff. And your kimchi, well, you can eat it with anything, with rice, in your soup. I put it in my soup. My wife puts it in her soup. Eat it on the side dish, like, you know, the same way you'd eat any other condiment. And it's very delicious. That's it. That's our homemade, our version of beautiful classic kimchi. But not, we cut the Napa cabbage instead of rolling it. That's the other way to do it. So that's it. Thank you very much. I'm going to start jarring without making a mess, if I can. Let me see. Let me see that. Yeah, I have to be a little extra careful. It'll take me a couple of minutes, but I know I can do it. Again, thank you for watching. Please do like, subscribe, and share our videos. And thank you for those beautiful comments you all leave for us. We really appreciate them, and sharing your thoughts and comments and giving us any ideas that you may have. We appreciate it. And I'm going to say, please share, like, and subscribe to our channel. And stay safe and healthy. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.